Well, this is us on the second Moshville Times quiz. Learned a bit from the last one. I think the feedback we got from the last one was a little bit on the long side, so we're going for 4 rounds this time round. It's David and Ian who are presenting it this time. Ross is busy doing other stuff. So we got questions have been put together by a fair number of the members of the team. We've got a bit of a variety. So the 4 rounds that we have, we've got Who Did That? We've got The Song Remains the Same. We've got Is It a Bird? Is It a Plane? No, It's a Supergroup. And we have an extended round at the tail end as well. So, David, who wants to take the first round? Should I do the first one, the Who Did It?
You do the first round, Ian. You're the boss. I wouldn't like to cross you.
No worries. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll read the questions out, and then when we go through them, you can go through the answers. And we can argue over who everybody is. Okay, so 5 questions, but let's say 1 mark per question. Feel free to throw your scores onto the Facebook post. It'll probably appear below this at some point, and see how well you did against everybody else. So 5 fairly random questions. Simply, who did the following? So who plays the guitar solo on the Beatles song While My Guitar Gently Weeps?
Are we allowed to give a hint and say it's not one of the Beatles?
I don't think we should let people know it's not one of the Beatles.
Right. No hints then. I won't tell them that.
Yeah, so we won't tell anybody that it's not one of the Beatles. Next one I think is fairly easy, or at least it is because I knew the answer. Who sings the lead vocals or sang the lead vocals on Hawkwind's hit Silver Machine? And if you know anything about Hawkwind, it probably won't come as a big surprise, that one. Next one's an interesting one because this one refers to a live recording, which you may or may not have heard. Phil Lynott name checks a saxophone player in Dancing in the Moonlight on Live and Dangerous as John Earl. But what band does Phil say that John Earl is from?
I think that's a tough one. I think that's a tough one.
That is a tough one. Should we make that a 2-pointer?
Okay, make that a 2-pointer. Why not?
Yeah, I'll make it 2 points just because it's difficult. Who sang the lead vocals on the Pink Floyd track Have a Cigar? And I think, should we give them a clue that it's not actually a member of Pink Floyd? Seems to give them a clue about the Beatles one.
I don't think we should give them any clues like that. That would just make it far too easy.
Okay.
But so we could take our hats off to him. Apparently that's a thing we do to this particular person. Hats off to this person.
Okay. And the last one is who plays the guitar solo on Michael Jackson's Beat It? That's again quite an interesting one as well. So somebody I think most everybody will have heard of, but whether they knew that this individual played guitar on Beat It or not, I guess we'll find out. Okay, David, do you want to rattle through the answers? Let us know what they are.
Okay, so who plays a guitar solo on the Beatles song While My Guitar Gently Weeps? It's a slightly incestuous relationship, I think, was going on, if that's probably not the right word, but Eric Clapton was the guitarist on While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and I'm not sure if this was before or after he stole George Harrison's girlfriend, but we'll let them worry about their relationships. Who sang lead vocals on Hawkwind's hit Silver Machine? It was, in fact, Lemmy. So there we are. Who knew? Apparently, the other members of the band tried to sing it and couldn't, and he was the only one that could sing it, and then it was a huge hit, and the rest of the band got really miffed at him. Not entirely his fault, but there we are.
Yep.
Phil Lynott name checks a saxophone player in Dancing in the Moonlight from Live and Dangerous, which I think is possibly one of the greatest live albums ever recorded. But he name checks him as John Earl from the Graham Parker Band. So 2 points if you get that one. Who sang lead vocals on the Pink Floyd track Have a Cigar? It's Roy Harper. And is it Led Zeppelin that did Hats Off to Roy Harper? I can't remember.
Not sure, but interestingly, Roy Harper is also the street name of Speedy from Green Arrow and Black Canary. He's actually one of the longest standing characters in DC Comics history, and happens to share the same name as a chap who's released 20 odd albums and did lead vocals on a Pink Floyd song.
Oh, there we are. Who knew? So you're showing not only your music nerdiness, but you're also showing your comic nerdiness as well. Now that's 2 nerds in the one podcast. That seems a bit over the top, Ian, if you ask me. And who plays the guitar solo on Michael Jackson's Beat It? If you were guessing, my guess is you would go for either the person who actually did it or somebody like Slash. But it was in fact Eddie Van Halen. So there we are. Michael Jackson's Beat It was Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah, it's hard to believe
Halen.
it's 4.5 years since Eddie Van Halen passed away as well.
That's
Just
incredible.
it doesn't seem that long.
No, I still again I think one of the most astonishing opening tracks on a debut album is just like is it called Eruption? I think it's called Eruption, and it's just Eddie Van Halen going mental on the guitar, and it's like this is what we do, go for it, and you just think, whoa, or I did anyway the first time I heard it. So there we go. Sorry, just so that was five answers, but one of them was a 2-pointer, so 6 possible points there. Hopefully you got at least one. There we are. The next one is The Song Remains the Same. Now, I offered to have a go at singing this, and I'm not sure if this is a good idea. It's called The Song Remains the Same because the lyrics have changed, but the meaning remains the same. In other words, I've taken lyrics and pushed them through a synonym type thingy to get words that mean the same but aren't the same as the lyrics. Does this make any sense whatsoever? So although the lyrics are not recognizable as the actual lyrics, hopefully the words will kind of make sense. Now, I originally thought 2 points for the song and the artist, so I'm happy to do that. But actually, I think this might be a bit more difficult, so I suggested to Ian that I would do it twice, and the second time I would sing it. So if you get it the first time, you get, say, 2 points for the song and 1 point for the group. If you don't get it until I attempt to sing it with the wrong lyrics, and I'm going to attempt to sing it because it doesn't scan anymore, and also I don't know any of the tunes particularly well, so I could mess that up. Then you only get 1 point for the song and 1 point for the band. Does that make sense, Ian? Does that need more
I
explanation?
almost think we should. I almost think we should give people double the points for listening to you sing.
Listen, I've got a stunning voice. Just you behave yourself until you hear me. Okay, so first one then. See if you get this on the first reading, 2 points for the song, 1 point for the band. Okay, so the first couple of lines of this song are fumes above the aqua, ablaze in the firmament. Fumes above the aqua, ablaze in the firmament. So what you're looking for is synonyms of those words that will be the lyrics of a song. Okay, after a slight pause, do you want me to try and sing it? Is this wise?
Uh, it comes with a health warning, but there we go.
Fumes over the aqua, ablaze in the firmament. I told you it wouldn't really work because it doesn't quite scan, but that may or may not have helped you get a point for the lyrics if you recognise the song, and a point for the band. Ian will go over the answers in a minute. Okay, this one happens to be one of my favourite songs ever. And it will be obvious it's a Christmassy one, so we're thinking Christmas songs here. At last it's arrived, cheerful Yuletide, all and sundries having a laugh. Behold the forthcoming time, it's only just initiated. Did we follow that? Well, I read it again. At last it's arrived, cheerful Yuletide, all and sundries having a laugh. Behold the forthcoming time, it's only just initiated. Okay, and I'm going to try and sing it now. So if you got it without the singing, 2 points for the song, 1 point for the band. At last it's arrived, cheerful Yuletide. This is so easy. All and sundries having a laugh. Behold the forthcoming time, it's only just initiated. That was too easy with the singing? What do you think, Ian?
I think it's harder with the singing.
Maybe it's just because I love the song so much. Okay, third one. Perhaps you adore to wager I inform you I'm your dude. You achieve a few, fail a few, it's all alike to me. Okay? Perhaps you adore to wager. I inform you I'm your dude. You achieve a few, fail a few, it's all alike to me. Now, I'm struggling to get the tune in my head at this point, so I might not be able to sing this one. Hang on a minute. I'm your dude. You achieve a few, fail a few, it's all alike to me. There's not a lot of song to it, actually, a lot of tune to it, so it's more of a kind of rhythm. So I'm not even going to bother attempting to sing that one. If you can't get it, then shame on you. Shame on you.
Mhm.
Okay, this one again, I think relatively easy, but maybe not. Maybe you consider it stress-free doing a single evening gig. Try performing in a stone rotation ensemble. It's a protracted way to the highest if you desire to stone and rotate. Stone and rotate sounds weird, so what could that be? So there we are. I think maybe you consider it stress-free doing a single evening gig. Try performing in a stone rotation ensemble. It's a protracted way to the highest if you desire to stone and rotate. And again, I'm struggling to get the tune in my head, so I'm now regretting even more that I said I would sing these.
This one is not going to scan.
uh, uh, yeah, Right, I'm just going to sing the last line. It's a protracted way to the highest if you desire to stone and rotate. That didn't really help anyone. Again, if you get that, I'm impressed. Okay, and the last one is a Stone Cold classic, so hopefully you'll get it. Look, a female who's convinced that all that dazzles is bullion, and she's procuring an escalator to paradise. Look, a female who's convinced that all that dazzles is bullion, and she's procuring, I can't say that word, an escalator to paradise. Look, a female who's convinced all that dazzles is bullion, and she's procuring an escalator to paradise. I think that again gave it away. I'm sorry about the two in the middle, but there we are. Ian, you can try and sing them if you want with the real lyrics, or you can just tell the answers. It's up to you.
Oh, okay. I don't think we've actually got the real lyrics down on the
No,
sheet.
no, the answers aren't there. I just expect you to know these things, Ian, because you are the boss of Moshville and you just know everything.
I'm just going to assume everybody else knows the answers. So,
Or well, all
above
we
the
need is
aqua
the
against a straight translation there. It's smoke on the water.
smoke in the
So
water. Yep,
if you got that without the singing, you get 2 points. If you had to wait until you heard the singing,
yep.
we all
1 point if you
and
had
one
to
point
wait.
for the artist, which is Deep Purple.
3.
The Christmas song, Behold the Forthcoming Time, it's only just initiated, it's only just begun, is Merry Christmas Everybody or Merry Xmas Everybody from Slade. So again, either 2 or 1 mark for the song title, depending how quickly you got it, and 1 for the artist. The first one that David really struggled with scanning because it just wasn't going to work. You win some, you lose some, it's all the same to me, is Lemmy again, Ace of Spades from Motorhead.
Hey.
Um, the one which became an essay, Stone and Rotate, is Rock and Roll.
So it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll,
That's from
or
AC/DC.
it's a long
And
way
the
to the
last one, I
tops
think,
if you want a sausage roll.
oh, yeah, sausage rolls. Yeah, Greg sausage rolls, obviously.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, if Greg's want to sponsor us, by the way, I spend an awful lot in your shops, so by all means, please give some back.
Best sausage
Um,
rolls in the world from Greg's. Just saying, Greg's, if you're
yeah,
listening.
and yeah, and the pink jammies, best donut out there. Yeah, Dunkin' Donuts dream of being a pink jammy, frankly. Sponsorship point over. So Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin was the last one. That was a fairly easy one to guess, and that actually scanned moderately well, I
I
thought.
think I sang that particularly well, to be honest. If if the Led Zeppelin guys are listening, I understand they've just done their recent documentary. I think if they're looking for a replacement for Robert Plant, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, look. This one's me again. Right,
It's you
so
again.
Okay, round three. This one's just a nice simple 5-pointer. We did discuss as to whether to do this one way round or the other, but I think the way we've decided to do it is it's name a supergroup from its members. So we'll name the members of the group, and you have to tell us what the name of the group happens to be. So a definition of a supergroup, for those who don't know, is a musical group formed from members who are already successful as solo artists or major other bands. And in all of these cases, I think every member comes from somewhere that you'll have heard of. So we've got 5 bands with a variety of number of members. We'll give you the members, you name the band. 1 point for each one. Most of them, I think, you may not have heard of all the members or have picked them together, but I think everyone will be able to get them from at least a couple of the names there. So the first one is a trio. It's Jack Bruce, Eric Clapton, that man again, and Ginger Baker. What
I
band
think that's
did they
possibly
form?
the easiest.
Not for me. One of the other ones was easier for me when I was going through it. Again,
Okay.
it's which bands have you heard of? That's the great thing
That's
about
true.
trivia. It's easy if you know the answer.
That is true.
The next band, funnily enough, are a supergroup that has since formed another supergroup because some of the members of this one are now in another one, which is touring at the moment. We have Sammy Hagar, Michael Anthony, Joe Satriani, Chad Smith, and Jason Bonham. What band did they form? And tour with and release an album or two under. Number 3, we have Glenn Hughes, Joe Bonamassa, Jason Bonham again. Does that guy have a proper career? And Derek Sherinian. And what band did they form? Interesting one. Number 4 has got somebody who is famous in it, but not necessarily musically famous. That name will stand out. This is the one I found a little bit easier. We have the Duke of Spook, Alice Cooper. We have some guy called Johnny Depp, Joe Perry, and Tommy Henriksen. Altogether, they are known as what? Toured last year before, I think, a couple of times. I've still yet to catch them live, but I have heard good things.
And last, but no by no means least, have you fallen off, Ian? Are you still there? Sorry about that. My Zoom
Yeah.
decided to update itself there, so we didn't get the last question because it decided it was going to shut down and restart again in the middle of a recording. Thank you very much, Zoom. So do
No
you want to
problem.
have a go at the last question again, Ian? And somehow, by
Uh,
the magic of editing, I will splice this together and no one will know that that happened.
no problems. So just on the last question.
That's the last one.
Okay. As long as you're definitely not the last two. As long as you know when it cut off, that's all.
No, I
Okay,
think
so
we're
the
okay.
last
Just go for it. Yep.
question. Okay. And the final one, a big band, 5 members in this one. This is George Harrison, Bob Dylan, Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne, Roy Orbison. I mean, if there's a super group, I mean that's it. I mean, without a shadow of a doubt. Um, what were they collectively known as when they got together and scared a recording studio? Okay, so David's going to rattle through and give us the answers.
Right, okay. Well, Jack Bruce, Eric Clapton, Ginger Baker. I thought it was an easy one. Ian disagreed. Well, he thought it was less easy than one of the other ones. It was Cream. So there we are. I think, again, was considered one of the original supergroups, but I could be wrong. For the next one, Sammy Hagar, Michael Anthony, Joe Satriani, etc. Oh, and the inevitable Jason Bonham was Chicken Foot.
Mhm.
Then we had Glenn Hughes, Joe Bonamassa, Jason Bonham again, and Derek Sherinian, I'm probably pronouncing his name incorrectly there, are Black Country Communion. And despite Glenn Hughes and Joe Bonamassa falling out, they recently released yet another album. So there we are. They obviously made up again. I think this is the one you thought was the easiest, Ian. Alice Cooper,
Yep.
Johnny Depp, Joe Perry, and Tommy Henriksen was or is the Hollywood Vampires.
Mhm.
And last but by no means least, George Harrison, Bob Dylan, Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne, and Roy Orbison are the Travelling Wilburys, or were the Travelling Wilburys. At least 2 of them are dead, I think.
So they won't be touring then.
They won't be touring again, at least not in that particular lineup.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is a shame. I mean, that is some lineup. I mean, the Alice Cooper, Johnny Depp, etc. with Hollywood Vampires. You've got that kind of let's throw Johnny Depp in there kind of thing. And whether he's there for eye candy or whether he's actually any good or not, I can't comment because I've not seen him live. But you look at Harrison, Dillon, Petty, Lynn, and Orbison. I mean, come on, seriously. I mean, that's not just 5 stars. That's 5 legends. Being able to fit them into a recording studio with all that talent floating around them is quite something.
Yep. There we are. I haven't seen the new Bob Dylan biopic film. Have you seen it yet, or are you?
I haven't. It's been out a couple of weeks, I think, isn't it?
It's probably just about reached the end of its run in cinema, so I'll probably need to wait till it comes out on telly, in some streaming means. But there we are. Right, last round coming up then, if we're okay with that. And this is an extended round. Again, I think this could be quite tricky, but basically, we're going to give you a category, and you've to name as many as possible that fit into that category in the time. And I have a little jingly thing which will splice in that lasts 30 seconds, I think it is. And basically, you've got until the end of the jingle in order to name as many in this category as you can come up with. Basically, I think if you just go for anyone that you can think of, there's a reasonable chance that it will fit in the category. All will become clear when I explain what the category is. It's studio albums by the Rolling Stones that got to #1 in the UK album charts. So if you're able to name a Rolling Stones album, the chances are you'll get it. Now, I've said there are 11, but I'm just panicking actually because they released one relatively recently, didn't they? And the last one I've got is 2023. I will need to check and see if there's been another one since I made up this question. But we're going for at least 11, possibly 12. And if you want to complain in the Facebook post, feel free. Okay, so the extended round is studio albums by the Rolling Stones that got to #1 in the UK album charts. Okay, so as I say, the last one on my list is 2023, but there might be a 2025 one. I will need to check. I can't remember when I made up this particular list. Okay, so the jingle will be starting. Oh, there's no penalty for getting it wrong. Okay, so if you write down 20 albums that you can remember, and 5 of them aren't, or more than 5, it would need to be about 10, say, aren't #1s, doesn't matter, you don't get penalised. So your best bet is just to write down as many, or shout out if you're just doing it verbally, as many Rolling Stone albums as you can think of. You've already had more than 30 seconds thinking time, so I will start the timing music now. Imagine 30 seconds has passed, and Ian will now give you the
just so you know, I just checked the last album they released was 23. They haven't released anything since.
That's good. Right. Good. I'm not as daft as I thought I was.
Okay. Right. So there are indeed 11 albums which fit the category of having reached #1 and been by the Rolling Stones, which is quite the graph. So going back to 1964, the first album was called The Rolling Stones. Imaginatively titled The Rolling Stones #2. It was #1 in 1965. Also in 1965, because hey, why not, was the Rolling Stones. It wasn't. It was called Aftermath, was the next one. They took a bit of a breather. 1969 with Let It Bleed. 2 years later in 71, they had Sticky Fingers. The next year in 72, they had Exile on Main Street. In 73, they had Goat's Head Soup. Obviously, something caught up with them at that point because it took a 7-year gap. They were probably just off touring or throwing televisions into swimming pools or something for a little while. 1980 was the next one, which was an emotional rescue. At that point, rock and roll completely died and record companies ruined everything. And it was 1994 before they had another number one with Voodoo Lounge. Another massive gap to 2016 for Blue and Lonesome. And then no real surprise in 2023 when they released the most recent album, and the first for absolutely ages anyway, Hackney Diamonds, which also made it to number one.
Excellent. So there we are. There's been a bucket load of points. I've not been keeping track as we've gone through. But as I said, there will be a Facebook post linked to this podcast. So somewhere or other in the comment section in the podcast, probably there will be a link to the Facebook post, or we'll just say look for the Facebook post. And we would encourage you to go on there, complain about them questions being too hard or too easy, boast about how magnificently you did, or complain that you was robbed because the right answer to one of the questions was actually something other than we said it was.
So I did a quick bit of maths, and as it turns out, the total maximum number of points you could get is actually a very convenient and nice round 37.
Easy to turn into a percentage. So we expect you to report as a percentage and not just as a number out of 37.
You can tell you're talking to two ex-teachers. You're going, well, one ex-teacher and one who still is a teacher. But so it's 37 maximum points. We will obviously have the Facebook post, etc. You can tell us how well you did or didn't do. If you didn't like the questions or you got a better idea, let us know. We're always open to suggestions, especially if you can come up with a little group of questions rather than individual ones, themed as the way we've done. And obviously full credit will be given, etc., etc. There might even be a patch in it for you. I've still got some patches left over from Bloodstock. We'll chuck a few patches out to people if they want to suggest questions and so on. There's a little bit of bribery there.
Worth their weight in gold, those patches. It's not everybody that has a patch, you know.
Yeah, gold is devaluing rapidly, as you can probably tell.
Well, apparently people have been stealing it from Fort Knox, so there we go.
Yeah, but didn't somebody say recently he was going to go there and they'd be very surprised at the result because Fort Knox has the best gold. It's the very best gold. It's excellent gold. Excellent. It's the best gold. There's no better gold than the gold there. It's the best gold.
Yes,
apparently.
But no politics on Moshville Times, as you know.
That's not politics. That's a sitcom. Sorry, American viewers, listeners.
I'm saying nothing. I've
said too much.
So thank you very much for listening. Hope you've enjoyed the quiz. If you've enjoyed it half as much as we have, then we've enjoyed it twice as much as you. It just remains to give credit where credit is due. The 30-second timing clip was from freesound.org. It's called Control Request, and it was by someone called Light Mister. It's distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution License. So thank you for listening, and we look forward to doing another quiz unless there is a huge demand for us to stop, in which case we'll probably do it anyway and just tell you you're wrong. Okay, bye for now. Thanks for listening.
This episode is copyright The Moshville Times, introductory music by Elliot Alderman Broom, and any music used throughout the episode is copyright to the original performers and creators.